2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
How do I not stress out when everything is changing?
Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers.
We're therapists.
And we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin.
Brannon, how's it going, man?
That's a question for you.
Not stress out whenever. Well, I think it's actually this topic is perfect for you today.
Yeah, actually, there's a lot going on in my life. A lot of good stuff, though.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we picked this topic today is because you're in the midst of a lot of change, right?
That I am. Just sold my business and talked about that a little bit on here, but it leads to figuring out the next steps in life and the next opportunities and challenges and things like that. So change is happening, and it's the middle of winter, which always feels like, you're kind of stuck in a contemplative mode. You're inside. So I just been sitting around contemplating, my future and where life is going from here. So it's been really fun and exciting, and it's been a little nerve-wracking and stressful at the same time.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think you and I kind of approach these kinds of things slightly differently. You seem to do a little better at looking towards the future, and I seem to be one who worries a lot about what's going to happen.
Well, I mean, I worry plenty too myself, but you know what's crazy here? Steve Harvey, he gave one of my favorite talks. He gave. It's called "You Gotta Jump," and in that talk, he says, "There is not one thing that God hasn't got you through." And he said, the proof is that you're here today. Like you're here, you're alive. So if you take a step back and you think about that, then the truth is like, think of all that stress that you've had about things changing. All of the thinking like, well, what's the future going to be like? Well, how's it all going to play out? Well, you're sitting in the future to that stress that you were in back then. Right? So somehow, some way, you're going to be in the future again, and you're going to be okay. You're going to navigate. You're going to figure it out. You're going to learn. You're going to grow. You're going to produce things. You're going to create things. Like, you're going to be sitting there in that future. And does it really help to sit here and be like, oh God, I don't know, like, what's going to happen, and life's so hard, and it's really not productive to the moving forward, right? The reality is change has happened, and change does happen. And if you can approach that with growth mindset, you can be resilient to change 100%.
Yeah, the challenge, I think, Brannon, is like, that all sounds good. The question is I think it's human to feel the stress when things are changing, because change induces stress. It's in and of itself, it's overwhelming, right? So the question is how do you help yourself to come around to this place that you were just talking about, that God's got you through everything. You don't need to experience the future right now. You just experience what's in front of you right now. How do you actually help yourself get to that place where you can suffer less in this moment and just accept the reality of the situation that you're currently in?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's inevitable that change is stressful and overwhelming. I think, and I really think it's a fundamental approach or philosophy of life that can shift the way that you feel about it. So many people are too fixated on security and comfort. I need to make sure I'm secure. I need to make sure we're comfortable. And if it doesn't happen, then I don't know how to handle that. And so it's this fear of the future of not being secure, right? Whereas like this, look at this approach. So this is Alan Watts. He's one of my favorite guys. You know who Alan Watts is, Tyler?
I don't, Brannon.
He's like a philosopher guy from England. I think in the early 1900s or maybe mid 1900s. And he took a lot of Carl Jung stuff. He just learned from a lot of the great teachers. And if you go on YouTube, you can find all kinds of videos and just quotes and things from Alan Watts. And one of my favorite quotes that he said was, "The only way to make sense of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance." So you can hear the philosophy there, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what does he talk about? Join the dance, right?
Yeah, I think there's some kind of inherent, it's interesting that he chose that language, that it is a dance.
Right. So it's not like a walk to a destination. It's every moment that you're living in is all there is. And you get to be in that moment, and you get to accept that moment. One thing is, there's like a definite reality here, Tyler. And the reality is that today, Tyler will change. You are experiencing change. You currently are, as is every single human being on the face of the planet. You are experiencing change. So we work so hard for comfort. We work so hard for stability. Isn't stability somewhat the opposite of change in some ways?
Yeah, exactly. It's a safe landing spot.
You're right. I know that I'm like, okay. Well, I'm not knocking on stability. I think stability is great. And I think we need to balance some stability, but also with the constant acceptance of change. Right?
I think maybe what you're getting at, Brannon, and this is where I think so many of us, including me, get stuck in this, is that we pretend that change is somehow within our control, and we deny the truth that change is inevitable and that we really don't have control over change happening.
Yeah.
And so then when we try to create stability in our lives, when we try to create that safety in our lives, in some sense, it's like building a sandcastle on the beach and then having the high tide come in eventually, because eventually it will.
Yes. Right.
So in essence, if we were to accept that there will be the high tide sometimes, we would not only be able to accept it, we'd be able to look forward to it, and we'd be able to let it teach us, and we'd be able to let it, I think that's why the word dance came up in your quote. It would be part of our growing and learning process, part of the savor of living, if we viewed it and accepted it that way.
Well, I love this analogy you're giving, Tyler, because yes, okay, you build a sandcastle and let's say that it's beautiful, and that's awesome. And you see the beauty of this sandcastle that you made. But the real awesome thing that happened was the experience of building it, was creating that. So then the waves come and knock it all down. And if you're like, what, like that sandcastle's supposed to, like I put so much time and energy into that. But if you're dancing through life, then you were engaged when you built that, and that sandcastle being knocked down is absolutely okay.
It was just its time.
It was its time, and you got plenty from that. Because you got to build it. You got to experience the sand. You got to feel the water and the sun on your face, and just do that in that moment. And that's wonderful. And everything will get torn down. Everything will change. We will all die. It's going to happen. And if we're all going to die, we're not going to look back at our life and say, well, look at the 401k that I have, and look at the house that I have, and I can't die because I have all these things. You're still going to die. So you can look back at your life and say, you know what? I lived. Like, that was awesome. I loved, I experienced, and the reality is this will all go away one day. Right?
Yeah. It'll all pass.
Yeah. So you can get to a place and a point where not only are you not stressed out about change, you love it. You embrace it, because you get to experience new things. You get to feel new things. You get to go through new things. And so it's like, you don't go out and sabotage your life and destroy it all because you want to create change. Like I said, balance between stability and change. But when it comes, and it's like, oh, sweet, cool. You want proof that we're not in control? Here's some proof that we're not in control. And it's so obvious. Like, it is so obvious, but like, we probably don't look at it as that obvious. But think about lightning for a second. Like, literally, you can get zapped from the sky. Boom. Like, you can, like, you're walking around and God has some way to be like, it's his time. But zap, bam. Right? Did someone create that? Or I don't know exactly. But they're like, so much can shift and change and be different that we have no control over. That bad driver behind you that rear ends you and gives you whiplash, you don't have control over that. They did that, right? So now you get to either fight against the change that you have that whiplash, or you get to embrace the change that you have it. Right? And that's again, your philosophy, your attitude, your approach to life. That's up to you.
That seems like a muscle that needs to be practiced a little bit, Brannon. I'm thinking, like, I had one of my therapists give me something called a Buddha board for Christmas. Have you seen those before?
No, but I'm interested now. I'm curious.
It's really simple. Basically, it's a little tray that holds water with a paintbrush, and then it's just a little white kind of canvas, and you just dip the paintbrush in the water, and then you paint whatever you want, and it will disappear within 2 to 3 minutes.
Oh, well, that's cool.
So it's that this idea of almost like the practice of creating something beautiful or letting go of something and then watching it just disappear and letting it go and move on. And basically the idea is accepting the impermanence of all things.
I mean, as you describe that, I think some people could think that's stupid. Like, what a waste of time.
It's like, why would I create a beautiful picture just to have it disappear in 2 minutes?
Right. I love the principle there, though.
But yeah, what you're getting at, and this is what I think you've been saying, is it's the time taken doing the creation in that moment that was more important than having it last forever.
Absolutely.
Because that was the life that was in front of you.
Yeah. If I could bring up addiction here with this, addiction, someone's attempt to control, in many ways. I want to control things because I want to feel okay. So addiction is an outcome that comes from resistance to what is. It's a fighting against what is and trying to take control yourself. And where I'm going here with this is that this whole thing we're talking about, embracing change, accepting it, dancing with life, is actually the opposite of addiction in many ways. Because what it is stepping into acceptance again and again, feeling what life is, experiencing what life is, being with life. So I'm not numbing my life out with things to avoid. I'm actually embracing and engaging and stepping in.
Yeah, beautiful. We use Pima Chadron a lot, Brannon. This is a quote that I think we may have used on the podcast before, but it says, when we resist change, it is called suffering. But when we can completely let go and not struggle against it, when we can embrace the groundlessness of our situation and settle into its dynamic quality, that's called enlightenment.
Yep. And she goes on and she says that's called peace, that's called freedom from the ambiguity of being a human being. And it's interesting how she says that last part. It's called freedom from the ambiguity of being a human. Like there's such a paradoxical truth there in that. That's one of my favorite quotes, Tyler. And I didn't know you were going to bring it up today, but it fits here perfectly. Of when you can embrace the groundlessness of your situation, that's when you feel peace, that's when you feel enlightenment, and that's when you feel freedom. Isn't that sounds backwards from what we're taught?
Right. It's counterintuitive.
Tyler, I was listening to a podcast this week, and it was a business podcast, and it was about frameworks. And he was talking about, you should set up steps for each thing that you do, whether it's marketing, whether it's product development or HR or whatever it is. You should have a framework. And I think we really like frameworks. We like, here's the system, follow the system, and get to the place that you want to get to. And from a really, really young age, we are culturally conditioned to believe in this model. You start kindergarten when you're 5. And all my kids, they just went to school. They're at different stages in this progression. And one day they'll graduate high school and they'll go to college and they'll think, okay, now I gotta pass this class, then that class, get this internship, and then I'll have the perfect career that I want. And it will provide for me the way I want it to provide for me, and my life will be set. That's great. And it's actually true. It works in some ways. But what those frameworks don't do is they don't account for all of the nuance of life. I think of like some of my friends who became doctors, and some of them love their job and some of them hate it. And they make a good living, but they're stressed out. They're not doing what they love. But they followed the system and they thought they were following the system to the perfect job that they thought that they wanted, right? So my point here is we are culturally conditioned into these frameworks, into these, if I follow this, I'll get to the place I want to be. And what we don't do enough, and I love that you bring up the Buddha board, because it's more Eastern philosophy and mindfulness of stopping, taking a step back, and instead of always thinking about where am I getting or what am I going to accomplish and what am I going to do, it's just being in that moment. And when you can learn how to be in that moment, you get to embrace life right where it's at. And change is happening, and change is always happening, but you're not stressed about exactly what's going to be, right? Am I making sense?
It makes a ton of sense to me. Maybe just share a personal example that's happening right now. Trying to apply these principles that you just talked about. I was asked to do a presentation for all of the mental health providers in Cache Valley today.
You're a big timer, Tyler.
And I am sick as a dog today. So I really can't go do this presentation. And the part of me that is like so resistant to the reality of that is like, I could suck it up. I need to just go do it. But then I'm going to risk getting everybody sick. And like, I'm stuck in a rock and a hard spot. And it's hitting all of these nerves in me of like, but I've been taught that you power through it and you follow through on your commitments. And I finally just sat down and had a conversation with with Chase, who, you know, Brannon. And he just basically said, he kind of said some of the same things you're saying. He's like, this is what it is, Tyler. You're going to have to learn how to rely on other people to cover you. And you're going to have to learn how to surrender it. And you're going to have to learn how to let it go. And you're going to have to learn how to lay at home on the couch while you trust your team to take care of it. And, and when he said those things, it was like, I need to lean into that. I need to actually, excuse me, I need to try to actually embrace that. Because it is what it is right now.
You can dance with it.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you don't have to, but I could suffer by being miserable and beating myself up and feeling like a failure, or I could just embrace that this is what it is today.
Yeah, and think how ridiculous it is to feel like a failure because you have a fever.
Right.
But like, this is a great example because, you know, today is what it is for you. You're sick, and you probably shouldn't go get other people sick. Now, you can have emotions of disappointment and, you know, like, dang it, like I wanted to do that thing. But now you get to look at this in all kinds of ways. You can be like, oh, like nice timing, blah, 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 resistance, resistance, resistance. Or you could be like, holy crap, like, look at God teaching me this lesson. Like, holy cow, like this is why probably I got signed up to do this thing, was to learn how to lay here in bed feeling like there's a whole world of things that, influence that I could have today, and just be okay with taking care of myself. Like, man, I need to learn that. And I'm so grateful that I get to learn that today. Right. That's dancing with it. You see what I'm saying?
It reminds me of the Dr. Paul we had on, that 25 and 5 kind of exercise. It's last night when I went to bed, I was like praying, like, God, please take my fever away. Let this be done with. And I woke up and I'm still sick as ever. And, but
you do realize the irony that you're here talking on the podcast right now.
I know. I know. I'm still in some place of non-acceptance a little bit.
Yeah. I tried to get Tyler not to record with me today, you guys. I promise.
I am doing more than I normally would by cutting everything else out after this today. But
and you can do this in your home, which is awesome.
Yeah, which is nice. But what I did notice is all those things, Brannon, and what I've come to realize is that it's taken me 3 messages, one to our front desk lady, one to one of my therapists, and one to another one of my therapists. And every single person instantly at the drop of a hat was like, I got you covered. I got this. I got that.
Yeah.
This. Like, I can't tell you how, for someone like me who has a hard time accepting love and support from other people, I can't tell you what it means to me to have that come through. And that might be the biggest gift of this whole experience is that I've got a therapist now who's going to go cover my presentation, and I've got another therapist who's going to cover my groups, and I've got a secretary who's going to make sure all my clients get taken care of. And man, like, how good does it feel to know that I got a team who's got my back in a bad situation?
Well, I think Tyler, when we talk about security, um, there is a security in love and relationships, and it's like, and I think that's the balance. Is yes, life is about change, but man, it sure is nice to have a support system around you that loves you when things are changing, and a team. Um, it's funny you bring this up. I got I announced to my staff I was leaving, and there was some tears shed. Um, I got this message from one of our therapists first thing this morning when I woke up, and it was like, "Hey, Brannon, I was having some dreams about hanging out with you and stuff, and I just want to know, I just want to see how you're doing and check in, um, and like, like all the feelings that I have, the stress and the excitement and all the things." For a moment, it was just like I'm okay. Like people got my back, right? So I love that story, Tyler. And again, how awesome is this? Look what you get to experience. You get to experience that trust and that love and that support that you have all around you because of this experience, right?
Yeah.
Um, we get to
There's
choose.
an opportunity in it, even though it's not what I would probably have chosen.
Yep. Just like Dr. Paul has taught us, right?
Yeah.
You get to choose positivity today if you want to.
Yeah.
It's absolutely completely up to you, right?
Yeah. That's the one thing that you always have control over.
Yeah. Um, so I
What are
hope
you,
that
I guess I'm wondering, Brannon, like, what are you doing right now? Because what you're going through right now is actually a really big change. Like, this
yeah.
is like career change. Like, you're in pivot mode trying to decide what to do. Um, I guess a couple of questions are, number one, what are you doing to help keep yourself focused on those things of embracing change and growth? And then also, what are some of the insights that you've had already in your process so far?
Well, one thing that is incredible, and I've kind of been freed up to just kind of be like, okay, now what? And knee jerk reaction would be get a job, get some income, like make sure you're secure. Um, but one thing that it's pushed me to do is especially at this point in my life is examine my life and say, what is my purpose? What am I called to do? First and foremost, what does God want me to do? And some of the stress of like, hey, you gotta, make some money or this or that. It kind of pushes you to think, okay, I got to do something. Um, but the stress has also pushed me to be like, what life do I get to create? Um, and so it's helping me get more clear with my purpose and who I am, and step further into that. So which I'm really grateful. I had stagnated some where I was. I felt like I was helping people and doing things and fighting for truth and those type of things, but I was also stagnant. And so on one hand, it's a there's a payoff. On one hand, it's stressful. On the other hand, it is life giving because it's like, okay, like it's creation time. It's go time. But hang on, before I go creation time and knee jerk reaction and act out of fear, what's my purpose? What has God made me for? What special, unique knowledge, skills, talents have I been given that I need to figure out how to give to the world? That's where I'm at right now. And the things that I've been working on, the things I've been working on with you, Tyler, um, are so exciting to me right now. And so I'm pumped about where this is all going, but I'm also like walking the plains a little bit.
Yeah.
before I get to Zion, you know?
Yeah. Kind of wandering around in the wilderness a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So I don't know if I answered your question, but just to talk about the process that I'm in, like, you know, just beyond that threshold is where um the magic happens. And if the stress comes and the hard things come, then I get to learn how to deal with those things, right? Um and if like massive abundance comes and security and blah blah blah, and I'm changing all, you know, the whole world for the better, well, then I get to deal with that too. And I get that'll be awesome too, either way. So
You're going to learn and grow either way.
you know, the fundamental ambiguity of being a human, I am definitely in it, and I have actually chosen to put myself into more ambiguity right now. And I don't know if I love that word ambiguity. I would say to sit in some uncertainty
Yeah.
right now, and I have intentionally chosen to do that for a reason. And you know, Tyler, with, you know, some things that we work with and things, we see people stay stuck in marriages, stuck in jobs, all out of security. Um, you know, and instead of like, okay, I can walk the plains here and get unstuck, and then I'll figure out where I'm going to land. But they're so scared to go walk those plains, they just stay stuck.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, hey, we can tell what truth is here for you and where the growth is going to happen, but we can see it. But are you willing to go actually step into that cave
Right.
and sit in that uncertainty? So
It's interesting that I relate to that comfort zone place. And when you really sit and think about it, after a while of sitting in that comfort zone, knowing that there needs to be a change, it in its own way is its own form of just a slow, painful death.
yeah.
Because everything loses its vibrance and color, and you're clinging to something that you really that in and of itself is still impermanent.
Well, and that's the irony of it all, is if I live my life in a place of fear and I try to protect against that fear, then I'm going to create the very things that I'm afraid of.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like this, it's this shoot yourself in the foot thing that everybody does when they fight against change. I'm resistant to this changing. I'm resistant to that. Well, okay. So if you're so resistant, let's take money, for example. I'm so scared that I'm not going to, you know, have enough money. So you hoard money, you don't invest it, you stick at your job that isn't providing fully, but you can't quit the job because you're so scared about money. So you're at this dead end job hoarding money because you're scared that you don't have enough money. Like, do you see it? Like, so to face the fear, deal with the fear, step into the fear, you can create something different than resistance and fighting against.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good topic today, Brannon. I'm excited for you with the new chapters going on in your life.
Yeah, I'm excited for your day of sickness and everything you get to learn from that today.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome. But seriously, get better, because we got a big weekend coming up. So
Yeah.
you got to break that fever, and
You know, I got to get through it.
like, freak, man, you and sickness, you know, that's been a battle your whole life of like, when it hits you hard.
Yeah, it has been.
So battle through this and get better.
I will, man. Thank you guys for being here with us, for listening. If you've got your own changes in the midst that you're of, we encourage you to come and join the dance.
Yeah, do some dancing.
Yeah. And until next time, you guys, keep on keeping on.